Hi, Lee Phillips here. What I want to do is talk to you about the crane that we made for Kristy. My son actually figured out what to do. It's made out of unistrut, which is something that you can buy down at Lowe's or Home Depot. What they do is in the commercial buildings, they hang it from the ceiling and then they put a clip up in here and then they hang the pipes and things from the unistrut. So it's a very common thing in commercial buildings. But they make a wheel which runs down the unistrut. So what we did is we got two sets of wheels and we made it so that it would go back and forth, and then we attached a winch here. So we got the five pieces of unistrut. What happens is the trusses in this room, in the ceiling, are running this way. So we got 3 here, you could do 4. The unistrut is very strong, so you don't really need a lot. It's not going to bend or anything. But we made a crane so that we could pick Kristy up anywhere in the room and then put her over onto her bed. So we'd pick her up in her chair here. We'd use a strap. We used the toilet strap, which had the legs come around the bottom pieces. There's another video on that. And then up the back. And we had the 6-point Hoyer lift. We got one of these. You can order these off the internet. They're a little pricey, a couple of $100. And I'll explain this setup in a minute. But we would put the strap, the sling, onto here, and then we could lift her up or down, and we could move her where we wanted to move her. So you could go anywhere and then pick them up or drop them down. So that's the concept of this. You can buy about the same thing for $50,000 or $75,000 from the medical people. This is very crude, but it worked very well for Kristy, and we actually used it for the last 1.5 years or so. So let me explain how it works. You put the trusses, line it up with the trusses, and then we screwed it in. Now I had to get and drill little holes in it because the spaces in the unistrut were too big. So I just drilled some holes in it, and then I just got some grabber screws and put them up into the ceiling. The reason that this screw hangs down funny is so that we don't run off the end of the, it stops it from running off the end of the rail. And so there's one on each end, and then on this end we just got a bolt and put it down through the unistrut hole there so that it won't go off the ends on this end. We got the struts, or the unistrut, and screwed it into the ceiling on the trusses. So it's very strong. The trusses will certainly support Kristy's weight with no problem, and the unistrut crane with no problem. The problem we had was these have to be absolutely parallel so that when you run it back and forth, it runs evenly. The only way I could figure out to do that was I put basically one screw in the middle, and I screwed one down as best I could, and then I would come over to this one and run it back and forth, and you can see where it binds. So I put one screw in the middle, and then I'd run it a little ways and put another screw, run it a little ways, put another screw, so that they were parallel and the wheels lined up. You can look at the wheels on this one. The wheels are quite small. They don't have a big hangy down piece. This is a what do they call that, Roll?
No idea.
It's a brace that they make to hold the unistrut. So there's one bolt up in. I put 3 boards, one for each area of the unistrut. And these had to be exactly even the right ways apart. So what we did was we got the 3 boards, and there's nothing fancy about those boards, and I clamped them together, held them together, and then I drilled down through so that in each case the hole was exactly the same distance apart. We wanted it the distance that would have this winch run back and forth. You might note that these wheels are a little different because they have a hanging down part that we put the winch on. This is just an L bracket from Lowe's or Home Depot, and then these are just standard screws and nuts, or bolts and nuts. You have a big washer on each side so that they stay in the holes, but these are just L brackets and they come down. These are pre-drilled holes in the winch. Now I got the winch at Harbor Freight. It was about $75. It'll lift a load of 1,500 pounds, so we got more than enough. You have to watch when you buy them because most of them are actually made to put on the front of a Jeep or a truck or something, and they run off of the 12-volt battery in the car. In this case, we wanted the one that ran off the house power, the 120 house power. So we got that. It has the pre-drilled holes in it so you can attach stuff to it. And then we just got an L bracket and attached them on all 4 corners of that. So it's very strong. And then it's tied up into these with a bolt. So these wheels will run back and forth on this set of unistruts. And the wheels, the ball bearing wheels, are made specifically for unistrut. There's a parts list. I've got the parts list for you so you can get exactly what you want. So we run it back and forth. We folded it onto the to the winch, and the winch has its little power thing that you can go up and down with it. And that'll lift you right up with no problem. So we've gotten these level, or parallel exactly, by running it back and forth and then screwing up into the trusses as we go along. I think I actually used this one as the main one and then put those 2 parallel to it by running it back and forth. The board at the top, and they're not even the same widths, you might notice. We just got 3 boards, but we drilled them together so that we got these bolts that run up into the other wheel exactly the same distance apart on each of them. Then we have the ability to run the winch back and forth. There was one more thing that we did that it would torque as I would try and pull it. So what we had to do was put another board, a support along here. We just screwed it up into those other boards, but it held it so that it wouldn't torque this way as we moved it back and forth. Now obviously we had to remove the one light fixture so that we could still slide it, and we lived without a light fixture for a couple of years, so you can manage that. But the crane worked extremely well. Anything else we need to tell them about Rebel?
I don't think so.
The Hoyer lift, the 6-point lift, it came with this. This is the most expensive piece. It's a medical piece, so obviously it's worth $6 trillion, right? I couldn't figure out, it came with this being hollow. It's just a support here. I had a friend, he's actually my tax advisor, and he says, oh, I know how to handle that. We went down to Ace, and they have a little ball bearing wheel. And the ball bearing wheel is made so that one side is slightly smaller than the other side. And it fits down in there and then catches on this lip. The other side's smaller, so it fits down in the hole. Then we just got a big eye bolt, and we got a lock nut on it, and put it down through. So it's made exactly to do that. And it worked really well. Ace has them, Home Depot, Lowe's didn't have them. And they're all in the parts list, so you can see exactly what they are. But it worked very well. We could just clip the 6-point hoist or lift up on that hook, and then we could do whatever we wanted with it. It works really well. And it doesn't bend at all, you might notice. So that's the crane. What else do we need to tell them?
I think that's got it.
I think that's pretty good. It worked very, very well for us, and made it so that we could lift her from her chair. We could put the sling under each leg and behind her back, and then under each leg in the chair, and then just lift her up and swing her over and put her down in bed where we wanted her. So that's the crane. It was actually pretty cool. We used it a lot. Now I'm going to take it down.